Prashant Pandey, Executive Director and CEO of ENIL, now joins in on the show. Prashant, thanks very much for being with us once again. Now you're seeing a roadblock. These dates have been postponed time and again. Do you think that August is that you probably will see the rollout by then? And what does this do to your expansion plans?
Well, it's not the first time that we are hearing of a delay happening on the FM Phase 3 auctions. There have been many dates given in the past. Just remember that the policy was announced in July last year. So if the auctions do happen in August this year, then it's going to be more than a year. Frankly, my own internal sources tell me that the bidding may not happen even before October of this year. So August to me looks optimistic, and if it happens, we would be very happy.
So what are your plans in terms of tapping newer towns? Which towns have you zeroed in on, and what is the expenditure that you're looking at?
Well, this is work in progress. I mean, we have an overall idea about where we want to go with the auctions. We certainly would like to see our network doubling in size. But beyond that, it's very difficult to comment at this point in time. We are looking at all the markets. We're looking at, there are many regulatory hurdles. There are many hurdles with the kind of the auction process the government is adopting. There are many other hurdles with respect of the reserve price that the government has set in many of these stations. And, that pricing is bizarre. So even if we want to, we are not in a position to bid for so many of these markets. So, keeping all of those factors in mind, I think we'll evolve our strategy really closer to the bidding time. But like I mentioned to you, we'd see our network doubling or maybe going over that.
And Prashant, how do you see advertising revenue from the radio business panning out over the next few quarters?
Well, advertising in radio has now become a very core part of the entire advertising market. So almost every national client has radio in his plan. So to that extent, radio's fortunes are linked very closely with the fortunes of the overall advertising industry. And what we've seen is that while October, November, December was a very bad quarter, there is some recovery in January, February, March. Even though it's very tentative at this point in time. So I can't say with very great confidence that we are truly out of the trouble zone. But most indications are that the markets will improve starting April.
And how will your geographic leadership extend post this bidding? Because your current market share is close to 35%. Will it go up post this coming through?
Well, our plan is that we must hold our market share at least 35%. If possible, and again, we are not interested in only a revenue market share, because remember, in the radio business, it's easy to acquire a lot of stations, but then you get encumbered by a whole amount of burden, and then you're not able to make it profitable. So for us, the goal is to maintain our 35% revenue market share, maybe increase it a few percentage points if possible, but keep the network profitable at all times. That is the clear goal.
Sure. Now, there's this view that once the Phase 3 rollout of licenses happens, the compounded annual growth rate of the industry will actually increase by maybe 30 to 40%. Would you go with that assessment, or do you believe that's a little ambitious, that target?
It's not at all ambitious. In fact, if you look at the media industry and the growth in the media industry, the growth in the media industry often comes from a growth in the supply situation. And remember that in the last 6 years, there has been absolutely no supply of radio frequencies. In the meantime, every other media segment has leapfrogged in terms of availability, right? So radio is kind of squeezed, and the moment the supply is released, it's going to just, spring back into a high growth orbit. So I completely agree. The growth rates could shoot up beyond 40%, and maybe that CAGR could stay at that rate for 3 to 5 years' time. And when that happens, the share of radio should grow from the 4.5% of advertising that it is today to probably a 7 or 8% share of the advertising. So yes, I do agree that the market will grow very fast for radio.
You spoke about maintaining that market share at least above 30 to 35%. So what are the steps that you're going to take in order to ensure that? Are there, in terms of expansion of geographies, is that something that you are also looking at? Absolutely.
We are looking at expanding deeper into the geographies that we are already present in. And we are also looking at entering geographies that we have been a little weak in the second phase. So both of those options are open for us. And like I mentioned to you, that the thing that we are very confident about, and why we feel so buoyant about the third phase, is that we have an extremely strong brand, and we know from our research that there is a huge demand for this brand in markets that we are not present in. And therefore, it should be relatively easy for us to roll out. The cost of rolling out should be very, very easy for us.
Sure, just Prashant, one very quick question. You did mention that ad revenue growth is looking robust, beginning to look robust once again, and then going into the new financial year, you expect it to hold up. You again spoke about the strength of the brand. This coupled, both factors coupled together, Do you believe you're in a position to start hiking advertising rates, or do you believe you might meet some sort of resistance?
Well, price hikes in the radio business and even in the television business, which is basically the electronic businesses, are always driven by a supply-demand situation. Traditionally, the supply-demand situation becomes tighter in the main season, which is October to December and then January to March. So if you've missed that period, then it's little more difficult to increase the price in the April to August period of time. So frankly, I do not expect pricing to rise across the board between April to August. Yes, there will be certain segments where we have taken the price cut, where we'll probably bring it back to where it was earlier. But the real price increase will now come only in August or September.